Hi, I'm Keith Grossman. I am a mediator. I'm also an attorney and educator at law, and I'm here to talk with you today about 5 essential things you need to know to become a successful mediator. The first one that I'm going to start with is understanding the role of the mediator. So mediation is a consensual process where the parties are selecting a neutral person, the neutral professional, the mediator, to help them to resolve a dispute. And so the mediator's role is to facilitate that discussion and to help them understand their options in order to reach a resolution. The parties, however, are the ones that resolve the dispute. The mediator does not resolve the dispute for them. This is a concept called self-determination, where the parties have ownership over what their result is. That's self-determination, and it is one of the most critical aspects of mediation. And the mediator has to abide by that, has to support that, and promote that with the parties. So I want to go ahead and tell you a story. It's about a trip that I used to make every summer. My daughter went to summer camp up in North Georgia, almost at the border of North Carolina. I live in Fort Myers, Florida, and what would happen is my wife, who's a school teacher, would usually take our daughter up to camp, but when the camp was over and we had to go pick her up, my wife was already back at work as a teacher, so I would do that trip by myself. I had a friend who had a cabin that was in the North Georgia area that they would let me stay at in order to break up the trip since it's too long to do in one day. So in this neighborhood where they had their cabin, there was another home that had a big pond in the front of their house right next to the road. And in the pond were these 2 swans. And they were just beautiful. They would glide effortlessly along the water, and it was really lovely to watch. So I would come home and I'd tell my wife about seeing the swans again. Well, on one occasion, she actually was able to join me on this trip. And so she was looking forward to seeing the swans. We got to the cabin, we put our stuff away, and then we went down to the neighbor's house where this pond is, and there was only 1 swan. So my wife and I are talking, oh my gosh, what happened with the other swan? I hope it's okay. And with that, the owner of the house pulls into the driveway. He gets out of his car, he walks down the driveway to the road where we're at, and we start talking with him. And my wife immediately says to him, I've never been here before, but my husband has always told me about these 2 swans that you have, and I was looking forward to seeing them, but we see that there's only 1. Is the other one okay? He proceeds to tell us a story about what happened, and I learned a few things about swans that I never knew before. One was that when swans are having they're in conflict, when they're having another animal that's preying on them, what the swans do is they take their long necks and they wrap it around the adversary and they pull it under the water to try to drown it. And I found out that they will do the same thing to each other. So what will happen is that they will wrap their necks around each other and they will each try to drown the other swan. So a few weeks before we were at this house, the owner told us that he was in the shower on the 2nd floor of his house, and all of a sudden he hears his wife yelling for him. He quickly turns off the water, he throws on a towel, he goes running downstairs. She's in the laundry room, mud room, and she is covered in mud. She is sopping wet from head to toe, and she's holding one of the swans in her hands. What had happened was she had heard the 2 swans wrapping their necks around each other, trying to drown the other. As soon as she heard the noise, she knew exactly what was going on. She went running outside, she dived into the pond, she got in between the 2 swans and she grabbed the first one that she could get her hands on and she pulled them apart and she brought one inside, because once swans start fighting with each other like that, they will continue to fight. So they could not put the swans back together. So they had to donate this swan to an orchard that's nearby in the area because they couldn't put them together in the pond anymore. So I could tell you this story because it's an analogy for conflict and resolving conflict, but that's not actually why I'm telling you the story. I'm telling you this story because another thing that I learned about swans is even though you look at them and they seem like they're just effortlessly gliding and it's just beautiful, that's what you see on top of the water. Under the water, they are paddling frantically. There's a lot of energy and a lot of commotion going on under the water that we can't see. And that's the work that we have to do as mediators. We have to get under the water, under the surface. When people come to mediation, they're telling us a story that they want to tell us, either intentionally or because they don't think certain things are important. But as mediators, we need to get under the surface, under the water, and understand the things that they're not telling us. So that's the role of the mediator, to ask questions, to listen attentively, to encourage them to give us more information so that we can help them. So that's what we have to do as mediators, is we have to get under the surface. We have to ask questions, we have to listen attentively, and we have to find out what are the things that are important about why they're in this conflict and how we can help them resolve the conflict. So as the mediator, the things that we are going to do are we're going to control the process, we're going to facilitate the discussion, we're going to ask questions to help the parties clarify the challenges that they have and the issues that they're facing. We are going to help them explore their options, brainstorm solutions, and we're going to help them to evaluate the proposals and the options against their interests, to compare them, to show them why certain things would work or maybe not work based on what their goals are, what their motivating factors are. And then ultimately, we're hopefully going to help them resolve the dispute, and then they are going to be able to put together a final agreement that we will help them finalize and put into writing. Our tasks as a mediator are to remain professional, have a professional demeanor, and maintain control of the mediation session. We're also going to help structure the discussion and point out and promote when they are making small agreements, when we're moving closer together and there's progress, and we're going to build on those agreements. We're going to help them understand how to build on those agreements so they keep getting closer and closer, and we're closing that gap between their differences. As a mediator also, we're going to start off with a strong opening statement. The opening statement is to set a positive tone for the mediation, to explain our role as the mediator and how we're going to be able to assist them, to encourage them to be honest with what they're thinking, what they're feeling, so that we can assist them. We want to, from the opening statement, talk about things that are building a connection with them, making them understand that they can trust us, that they can have faith in us and confidence in us, in our ability to be able to assist them. And we, of course, want to emphasize the importance of self-determination, that this is their case to resolve. They have ownership over what that looks like. And specifically for mediation, we need to emphasize the confidentiality, that the things that we talk about in mediation are just between those of us who are participating in the mediation session. So there's no concern about things being talked about or used against them at a future time, a future court hearing, or anything like that. So a best practice for us is to be a calming influence on them and encouraging them to continue moving forward. Mediation is not easy work, and we have to overcome obstacles, so we have to promote that positive tone and encourage them to be persistent and work through any of those complications. So now you know the role of the mediator. Let's talk about the skills of the mediator.